So we're going to read each thesis statement and find the what, the how or why, and the so what, and then decide, does this person get a 0 or get the 1 point. So this is avocado. Okay. In the novel Frankenstein, the allusion to Adam and Eve's fall from grace enhances the work's meaning by Victor's life paralleling that of Adam's, which allows the author to reflect the ethical implications of scientific experimentation. And I will say, if I see any major mistakes, especially like comma errors, I'm going to point those out. Other little mistakes, doesn't matter, okay, because they're all rough drafts. What would only matter if there were so many mistakes we wouldn't be able to understand what the person wrote. Okay? So, clarification. What do we do to titles of books, plays? So long things are underlined or italicized. You use quotation marks with poetry. So what is the what here? The allusion to Adam and Eve's fall from grace. All right. The why or the how. Okay, it enhances the work's meaning by paralleling Victor's life to that of Adam's. So what? Who cares?
Well, that's the implication.
So the ethical implications of scientific experimentation would be the overall theme. So this one has all 3 parts. So we get a point. Okay. Next is Doris.
Bruh.
I'm sorry. I'll fix that.
It's okay. It's all right, jeez.
Through the use of biblical or mythical allusions in Mary Shelley's book, Modern Prometheus Frankenstein, show how Victor plays the role of God and how his actions created consequences. One thing I want to mention, we talked about in the morning class, many of the examples we read were like 2 and 3 sentences long. And sometimes they were so long, it was really hard to figure out what was this part and what was that part. And when we found one that was like this, a more short and straight to the point, and it was so much better because it had clarity and we could tell exactly what the person was saying. Okay, so, think about that. Your thesis should only be a sentence or 2. What is the what? Biblical and mythological allusions. Okay. Why or how?
Praise the word of God and how his actions create consequences.
Okay. So you probably shouldn't be answering all of this since it's your piece of paper. That's what you want it to be. Can the rest of you tell the why or the how? So I think the why or the how showed how Victor plays the role of God. Probably a little clarification by creating the monster. Okay. And is there a so what?
So that the creative consequences.
So the so what possibly could be those consequences. And again, maybe with the consequences, a little bit more hint as to how they're bad consequences, because remember, consequences can be good, and that way it would lead a little bit more into the theme and truly show your understanding of the book. Okay, so does Doris here get a point?
I feel like it's a hit or miss depending on the grade.
Yeah, and again, because this grading system is so new to us, I'm not certain, I don't know if I can say with 100% yes, this might be one of those that's on the border. Flash is our next contestant here. In the story Frankenstein, Mary Shelley alludes to Frankenstein being a modern Prometheus, as he has created a human just as Prometheus had, and must suffer for his actions just as Prometheus had in the myth. So our what alludes to Frankenstein being a modern Prometheus. A how or why?
Suffer for his actions. Probably just, yeah, the West of the
Because he created a human like Prometheus? Or is there a how she alludes to it? Or he alludes to it, whoever the heck Flash is. So what? A bigger picture?
Not really.
Again, some hints maybe about suffering for his actions, but what, like we talked about with Doris's paper, what exactly does that mean? So we really need to concentrate on trying to be as specific, of course not so specific that you give textual evidence, but specific so that you are proving without a shadow of a doubt you know what the heck you're talking about. And I can guarantee you there'll probably be some text, and I don't know if we'll ever figure out what the heck we're talking about, if they give us something really old and strange.
Good name.
And I'm not certain how you pronounce this one. Heffany?
Leslie's serious. I'll take it. I'll take it.
In Frankenstein, Mary Shelley refers to the mythical and biblical allusions to form the pieces underlying theme of the heroic, let me try that again, horrific dangers that come with acting against a greater authority, by showing the catastrophe faced by Victor when he took it upon himself to act against God's ultimate judgment in creating life. My what?
Mythical
Mythical
and biblical allusion.
and biblical allusions. How or why?
Through the theme. Is the dangers. And showing the catastrophe.
I don't know, there's a lot there. Is that the theme is how Mary Shelley goes about doing that? Or is that whole discussion about the theme, which is him going against God and facing the judgment, is that the so what? I just not certain, how would you break this up into two different things? I think it's either the how part or it's the so what part. What are your thoughts?
Like, I don't know. Simpler. 'Cause it's
I mean, I like everything that was said. I'm just not exactly certain how, like I said, how to break that second part up. To me, that's more of the so what. I think we're missing that why or the how part of it.
Here's hot dog.
In Greek mythology, the Titan Prometheus creates humanity. To help his creations progress, he steals fire from the gods and gives it to humans against Zeus's wishes. This fire sparks industry and a loss of innocence for his race. Frankenstein is the modern Prometheus who steals God's power to create life. For stealing this power, he is punished, much like Prometheus is punished for stealing fire from the gods. Alright, so does that read more like a introduction than just a straight thesis? It is 5 sentences long. Where does the thesis really begin? Frankenstein is the modern Prometheus? Yeah, I think our first several sentences would be more the introduction to the paragraph, to the essay. So Frankenstein is the modern Prometheus who steals God's power to create life. For stealing this power, he is punished, like Prometheus is punished for stealing fire from the gods. We know the prompt. So we know that hot dog is saying Greek allusions, right? Mythological allusions, but hot dog does not put that there. Okay. Is there a why or a how that Mary Shelley does that? Not really. Is there a so what? Maybe there's a hint at that, since we know the parallel between the two stories that, like many of you have already said, you know, the consequences of him playing God. But really, this sounds almost kind of like a summary, doesn't it? Okay, so I don't think hot dog would get a point.
Miss Ann's, I caught myself doing that, where like, I know you're just supposed to write the thesis statement, but like I wanted to write the whole
That's fine.
introduction to convey it, and so I had a hard time like trying to, I don't know why.
Okay, no problem.
I have that problem too sometimes.
I mean, I agree, sometimes it's easier for me to get started with all that introductory stuff before I can really get down to the nitty gritty. Alright, this is January. In the book Frankenstein, Mary Shelley uses allusions of mythology and biblical senses. She highlights the importance to not create a human, as that is only God's doing, adding to the thematic idea of the story through the consequences the creator experiences for playing God. A reminder again, long works, plays and novels, underline them, okay, or italicize them. Short things, quotation marks. Long things are underlined, short things are quotation marks. What is our what? Okay, mythological and biblical allusions. What, how or why?
To not create a human as only God's doing.
Maybe, but I mean, that's directly tied in with the theme of the whole novel. So again, is that more of the so what part of things? And the why or the how? I don't know. How do you split apart the last two lines? I mean, I don't, your thoughts? Do you think the how is there and the so what, that they're two so totally different things? So what can we do to better separate these two ideas?
Maybe just have some kind of punctuation, like make it a new sentence or something.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you guys are, I think, wavering. Is it how? Is it a so what? What? Are both things actually there? So how can we distinctly show that both things are there? I don't think, punctuation's really gonna do it. So she uses biblical allusions and mythological allusions. There's the what. How or why does Mary Shelley do that? To highlight her thematic idea about playing God and the consequences one would face. So what? What's her point in doing all that?
Like, would you put like in order to illustrate thematic elements of consequences the creator experiences for playing God?
Yeah, but in a sense, you kind of said that in the how part. Maybe she does all of that to
Maybe you could like.
to teach society, to warn society, to warn the medical industry. I don't know, something about we humans have our limitations and should not overpass them. That would be more of a true separation between the how and the so what. So I think two of the things are there. I don't know if all three things are there. Here's Shrek. Not certain where donkey is. They always go hand in hand. In Frankenstein, Mary Shelley utilizes biblical allusions via comparisons of Victor to the creator through the external and internal conflict Victor faces in order to relay a message, the dangers met when playing God. So right here, I kind of stumbled when I read this. Can anybody tell me punctuation-wise that might help me right there?
Give that a dangerous message. So message the danger.
I mean, I could switch it all around, you're right, but there is punctuation I could do. A dash. Anybody tell me about a dash?
A pause.
It is a pause, but
Like
what's
a hyphen?
well, a hyphen is to like join two words. A dash would be the pause, but a dash serves to list things or to explain things. Is the dangers met when playing God this message? Okay. Ooh, we did something with a comma and a positives. What's in a positive? Where you rename the thingy in front of it. Is this renaming the thingy in front of it? So I could put a comma right there. Anybody know what a colon is? Dot, dot. So a colon can make a list, it can explain, so I could put a colon right there as well. Okay. Some sort of punctuation, especially the colon or the dash, is that maybe going to get me to a sophistication point if I continue that higher level syntax as I write. Okay, so we have our what, biblical allusions, how or why. The comparison of Victor to God, to the Creator. Okay. And is it almost a double how? The comparisons and the external and internal conflict that he faces? Or is that trying to get to the so what part? I can see that the comparisons of Victor to God would be the how or the why, and that through these external and internal conflicts, we get to that thematic idea, the dangers of playing God. So I could see how all three things would work here. I think this one could get a 1. Your thoughts? Excuse me. So tumbleweed. In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the use of religious allusion predominates the novel in order to enhance the work's meaning of the examination of science by comparing Victor Frankenstein and his monster to God and the creation of Adam. My what? Religious allusion. How or why? Enhancing the work's meaning. Okay, so enhancing the work's meaning, that's a pretty vague kind of thing, right? So be careful if you're going to use some sort of turn of phrase that way. Make sure that you follow it up with the specific thing that you mean. So the examination of science would be the how part, okay? And so who cares? So what? Do we have that?
There's like 2 hows.
Yeah, I think we do have 2 hows, because then we also have the Victor, the comparison of Victor and God and monster and Adam. I think if Tumbleweed had gone on to specifically tell me about this examination of science, that science oftentimes goes too far and should not play God, you know, some sort of thematic idea like that, then we would have the so what. But I'm thinking right here we just have our what and our how. And Violet. Through telling the story of carrying burden, the allusion to rhyme of the ancient mariner relates to the unnecessary burden Frankenstein caused in his life. So this what is a literary allusion? All right. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is a poem, but it's a long poem. It was almost like a novella, because it has like 10, 12 different parts to it, and you know, there's various stanzas in each part. So knowing that it's a long poem, how would I, yeah, I'd have to probably underline that, okay? What is my what, or excuse me, my how or my why? Relates to the unnecessary burden Frankenstein caused in his life. All right, so what? No hint at that at all. Does number 1 bother you that it doesn't have author and title. Now, remember, I don't know that you're always going to be told that in the new prompts that they're giving you, right? So I know you've done it that way, you know, your entire high school life, and more than likely, if you have to do more essays, you do it that way, you know, in your college essays. But if you're not given that information, you know, you might just have to say the author, you know, in the author's work, because you wouldn't be told some of that information. Alrighty, so we're going to move on to the next one.